Hello everybody and welcome back to another fire film video. I know, I'm very original. Nobody's ever done this before. I never thought I'd become one of those YouTubers who has to apologize at the beginning of every single video for like not uploading in a while, but here we are. Oopsies, I was busy. Sorry, my bad. So 2021 is officially over and it's been a weird year for movies, I'd say. Since 2021 is sort of like a catch-up year for like everything we missed last year, there was just a whole dump of content and a lot of it was just bad. As of recording today, which is Christmas, because what else can I do on Christmas apart from record videos, I have watched 47 movies that have come out in 2021, and today I shall be ranking each and every one of them from worst to best. From worst to best. Let's get into it. The Tom and Jerry movie is not good. This is what capitalism has led to. This is what they want. It's an old property, it's live action, it's got a bunch of big actors, and it has $100 million box office. And it's not only the fact that this is like a representation of everything that's been in Hollywood, it's also just the fact that this movie is not good. The acting, for some reason, is just really, really bad. Michael Pena was in this, and like, I'm sorry, he's just not funny. I think the only like funny thing he's done is like the first 10 minutes of Ant-Man 1. Chloe Grace Moritz was also in this movie, and I feel like I remember her being good in like something, but the only things I've seen her in are the Diary of a Wimpy Kid original movie, the 2019 Addams Family like cartoon movie, and this. So I don't know what the hell is going on there. None of the other actors are like really notable in any aspect, so it doesn't even matter to like bring them up. Plot is like completely irrational and some boring like wedding plot which doesn't relate to Tom and Jerry at all. But then the plot doesn't even matter because it's just a way to lead to Tom and Jerry doing like wacky things. But then the majority of the movie isn't Tom and Jerry doing wacky things, so it just comes out like super confusing and like it doesn't know what it's doing. Additionally, the cinematography is horrendous. You know how they shoot like Hallmark movies or like commercials, like super flat, the camera is at eye level, it's like the lighting is completely just bright every single shot. Yeah, that's this movie. Like, I mean, the camera could be doing more than just like pointing at the actors, you know what I'm saying? I think the only positive about this movie is that they didn't make Tom and Jerry specifically live action. They made them 2D hybrids like they did in like Who Framed Roger Rabbit. It's not the easiest thing to pull off, you know, having this like 2D character and 3D live action sort of integration, but like it's just not enough to save this movie. 2 out of 10. Have you ever seen the series of King Super's ad that has these like weird blob characters? Yeah, imagine that, but for an entire movie. What's good about this movie is that it's a very faithful adaptation. It takes pretty much everything from the book 1-to-1, and it's like much more faithful than like the actual live action movie. But having said that, doesn't really mean that it's good. Honestly, this movie sucks. The acting is bad, the animation is bad, the soundtrack is bad. There's really nothing good about this movie except for like 2 things, which are that it's an hour long, so you don't have to suffer for long, and also that I could see like an 80-year-old who's like read the book for the first time watching this and be like, hey, it's like the book I read. I think that's wholesome. But yeah, 2 out of 10. I really despise movies that rely way too heavily on like memes because they are always super outdated the like second they come out. Movies like Airplane Mode or like any of the scary movies sort of fall into this because all of them like rely too much on you knowing what was happening like 2 years before the movie came out. This movie, which is titled Karen, this first shot is like her just cleaning away like the Black Lives Matter logo drawn in chalk. So while this movie does sort of serve as like a solid time capsule of 2020, it would be a better time capsule if it wasn't really fucking bad. One of the main issues is that the acting is incredibly stilted. Nobody does a good job because it's a very cheap movie. Simple as that. This movie also has this weird issue where it's like trying to be shot like a commercial, but it's also like supposedly a horror movie, so it's like all dark and whatever, and it's a very weird mesh of that like super boring cinematography mixed with like, you know, how a horror movie should be shot. I would also complain about the plot, but I watched it on Halloween night with a bunch of buddies, so I didn't pay attention to it at all. 3 out of 10. Yes Day is an incredibly boring, bland, and formulaic movie. It's a very solid premise, but it could have just been so much more. go watch my video on it. 3 out of 10. If Tom and Jerry is like the definition of a boring, cynical, like Hollywood-driven product, Clifford the Big Red Dog is like a synonym for that. This movie sucks. The plot is entirely driven by like the three main characters being massive dumbasses who can't like think properly and just always make the wrong decisions. The villain in it is also kind of right, but not in the like, oh, what a conflicting issue, but ultimately the main character is the good guy. No, the villain is just in the right. He wants to take Clifford away because he thinks, oh, maybe I can do some testing on this big red dog to figure out how to like solve world hunger by just making food bigger. I mean, that's a good person thing to do, dude. But then the like two kids and their uncle are like, no, I want to keep the big red dog. No, he's mine. And they do. So, ugh. The CGI is like horrendous in this movie, especially when Clifford is a puppy. He looks very like bony for some reason. It's a very weird look. It looks scary. It's bad. I don't like it. Bad. I like tried paying attention to the soundtrack in this movie to like feel smart, but it was so like painfully boring. I thought, oh, maybe this movie might have something like whimsical and childish that'll be like fun, but nope. Yeah, I don't like this movie. 3 out of 10. Thunder Force is like, I don't fucking know. It's a superhero movie, but about moms, for moms. Girl power is a theme. Girl bossing is also a theme. It's a scientist lady and a kid who wants to be a scientist. I remember that. Yeah, I don't fucking remember anything that happened. This entire review is kind of just written off of what I left in my notes for this movie like months ago, which is what I just read out to you. But it's bad. 3 out of 10. Home Sweet Home Alone is not good. Unfortunately, who could have guessed? It does a solid attempt to reboot the movies, but it also just doesn't do it well. One of the biggest issues with the plot, personally for me, is that like in the original movie, the villains were like inherently bad guys. They wanted to break in to steal stuff for profit, for greed. In this movie, the two people who are breaking into the Home Sweet Home Alone are like these two parents who want to get their doll back from this kid who like accidentally took it because they don't want like their home to be taken away. So it's like, it's a solid motivation. It's like, actually, oh yeah, I can root for these characters, and that's what they tried to get you to do. Home Alone, the original, is good because it's such a solid, like, simple premise. It's a kid home alone doing all of the things, and then he has to protect his home from home intruders by himself. It's a power fantasy for kids, so that's why everybody likes it. They also try to like recreate or just like make their own new iconic moments, but it's just not good. It just doesn't, I don't know, have the same vibe. Maybe it's nostalgia, but like, I don't know, man. This movie isn't good. It's also, once again, shot like a commercial. There's not a single interesting shot. There's like this one joke in this movie that's kind of a saving grace. It's like a joke about how like reboots are never better than the original, and that at least got a solid single chuckle out of me. So, good job, movie. 3 out of 10. Chaos Walking is not a good movie, and I've never read the book, so I don't know why I wanted to see it. As far as I can remember, I think my sister wanted to go see it because like Tom Holland is hot, which I guess fair enough. This movie is weird because Tom Holland and Daisy Ridley are in it, and they have such like non-Tom Holland and Daisy Ridley roles, if you know what I'm saying. Like, these two actors rely a lot on their charisma, and this movie doesn't really let them use it at all. I'd like applaud them if they were like trying to break out of those sorts of roles, but maybe do it in a good movie. I don't know. I really do feel bad for fans of the book because like a lot of the concepts and ideas do seem cool, but they're just not done well at all. This movie is clunky, it doesn't look good, and I don't like it. Your Movie Sucks made an entire video on it that has pretty much all of my thoughts on it. If you want to go check that out, I guess. But yeah, 4 out of 10. Tom Clancy's Without Remorse is weird, because it's really just a nothing movie. There's military stuff, and there's Michael B. Jordan, and there's shooting, and apparently there's going to be a sequel. It's pretty much the same amount of like action and plot as like a mid-tier military first-person shooter, but like, you don't get to be the one shooting, so it's not really that much fun. 4 out of 10. The Tomorrow War is also weird. It's a high concept time travel action blockbuster. Sure, sounds cool. It's also just like not great. It's boring, stuff isn't explained well, the monsters aren't very interesting, blah 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 blah, all of that stuff. I guess it's cool enough, but like, there's just better action movies, and like the selling point of the Tomorrow War is that it's a true like action blockbuster. It's really got action galore. It's got guns that shoot bullets. It's like the whole thing, you know? It's like an original action blockbuster. I think, honestly, the best thing about it is that it's like an original concept, you know? That, like, it's an original thing, not based off of any IP whatsoever. What I really hope is that, like, the negative audience reaction doesn't tell Amazon to, like, stop funding, like, original projects, because that's the last thing I'd want. 4 out of 10. Black Widow isn't really good, in my opinion. Out of the, like, 4 MCU films this year, I didn't watch Eternals, but, like, Black Widow and Shang-Chi kind of fit into this, like, category of, like, movies that kind of feel a little bit too much like Phase 1 movies, and, like, in a bad way. Thor Ragnarok, Guardians 2, and Infinity War were, like, really good signs that the MCU could be, you know, creative. But then this movie just kind of took us back a step or two. Anyways, the cinematography is boring, the plot is convoluted, and the Taskmaster villain is really badly wasted. It's not great. 4 out of 10. It's kind of sad that I watched 11 2021 movies that were worse than the Paw Patrol movies. But, here we are. The thing is, I don't think anybody watching this video has actually seen this movie, so, I'm not gonna explain this placement. Fuck you. Just to know that it is true. This is its objective place on this ranking. Lockdown is an HBO Max original, probably the first one I saw, on HBO Max. And I mean, it's fine. It's like, as a time capsule of Lockdown, it's alright. It's solid. I think, honestly, it just relies way too heavily on, like, hey, remember that this is what COVID was like? Remember toilet paper? Remember honking for the NHS? Remember all of that stuff? Yeah, that was COVID. Yeah. Remember that? Remember when us, like, executives of HBO were just rolling in money and doing whatever we wanted while, like, millions of people died and lost their jobs? Wasn't that fun? The plot is, like, really forgettable because it's, like, also a heist movie about, like, these two characters finding out, oh, hey, we could do a heist really easily and then, like, have a bunch of money and also donate to the NHS and whatever. And it's like, I guess that's a fine premise, but that's the thing about this movie, it's completely fine. 5 out of 10. So a couple of months ago I had a debate with one of my friends whether these, like, long cinematic videos made by Rust YouTubers, which, if you don't know, Rust is like a video game, if these, like, hour and a half cinematic, like, story-driven videos were movies, because they were, like, called Rust movies. And that led to me finding out that House of Cards, one of these Rust movies, was on Letterboxd. So I watched it, and still don't think it's a movie, but it's on Letterboxd, so I might as well review it. It's, like, good for what it is. I think, honestly, it's very clear that Frost is just, like, a very good storyteller. He can take these random, like, multiplayer setting moments and weave them into a very good story that's, like, fun to watch. In terms of filmmaking, it's not amazing. Could I do anything as good as that? Definitely not. But also, like, I don't need to, because I'm 14 years old. Like, come on. Oh, wait, no, I'm 15 today. Fuck, that's epic, bro. That's pretty good. 5 out of 10. LEGO Star Wars Terrifying Tales is the scariest thing I've ever watched. This movie is bone-chilling. It's terrifying, and it nearly drew me to suicide. Watch out, this movie is not for the pregnant, young, or weak-willed. Nothing in your life will compare to the experience of watching this film. Be careful. 5 out of 10. So for all of these movies, I, like, wrote up some notes, so when I, like, wrote a full review on them, I would, like, have somewhere to start from. And all this says is Goo Gaga, I love cinema, wah wah, change my diaper. So, yes, those are my thoughts. The Red Notice is the most Hollywood movie ever, but for adults. It's literally just hot people doing cool things in an expensive setting. That's it. That's the movie. The plot doesn't really need to be focused on because, like, everything memorable about this movie is just from the leads, which is what the producers wanted. They wanted the leads to have cute character interactions that people would go and be like, hey, I'm gonna develop a parasocial relationship with you guys. Like, look at the poster. It says nothing. And that's what the movie is. If that's what you want out of the movie, if you want these three people doing hot stuff in, like, a cool environment, sure, that's what you'll get. Also, fuck you, Ed Sheeran. You're not funny. Don't act. Dude, come on. 5 out of 10. The United States versus Billie Holiday is, like, the definition of an Oscar bait. Except it didn't win any of the big Oscars, so whoopsie daisies. This movie is just really edgy. It's got edgy cinematography, edgy lighting, edgy set design, edgy drugs. There are so many drugs in this movie. You guys really gotta lay off the drugs. Come on, Billie Holiday. But, like, Could be worse, I guess. I don't know. Go, girl boss, and all of that. Yeah, 5/10. Wrath of Man. Oh gosh. Oh boy. If you're the type of guy who really, really loves the vibe of like The Godfather or Goodfellas, but like secretly you don't really understand what they're saying, this is the movie for you. It's dark, it's grim, it's just like a gangster flick that's very simple. It's not bad per se, but it's also just like nowhere close to being considered a good movie. Honestly, it just got massive dad energy. If you're a dad, you'll probably enjoy this. I mean, that's also what the Guy Ritchie has been forever. So, 5/10. Mortal Kombat is just cool as hell, dude. It's such a fun movie. The characters are dumb, sure, and the like country guy character gets completely like thrown out of the window in the second act, but I mean, it's just a fun movie, dude. I like it. I don't know what to tell you. The action is just good, man. It's just got good action. Honestly, for an adaptation of a video game with like no story, or I mean like a very limited story as far as I'm aware, and like really weak characters, it could have been a lot worse. So good job, 5/10. I'm not entirely sure anybody apart from like me saw this movie, but for what it is, it's pretty fun. The action is slick, and the characters are like fun to watch. It's pretty comparable to Shang-Chi with the like martial arts and like it ties to Asian mythology. And I think it does the action much better than Shang-Chi, but like not much else. Overall, this movie is fine, but I think the most memorable thing about it is that I got a free poster from it that's still just hanging above my bed and will probably never go down. So, thanks Cinemark for that. 5/10. For 26, 25, and 24, this is free. Wait, no, this is 4. What the fuck am I doing? For 26, 25, and 24, I'm going to bundle all of the Fear Street movies into this category because, they're kind of all the same, to be honest. But remember when, like, everybody was gushing for these for, like, a single week, like, months ago? Good times, dude. I personally really like the positive LGBTQ plus representation in these movies because, like, horror doesn't exactly have the best track record for doing that. This is kind of a hot take. I don't think a lot of people agree with this, but I think the quality of the movies kind of goes down as they go along. The first Fear Street is my favorite just because it's like just so wonderfully silly, It's a very fun, goofy movie about all of this like horror stuff. My second favorite is 1978, not for any particular reason except it's just not as good as 1994 and not as bad as 1666. I think 1978 really shines when it's doing all of the like cute character drama stuff and not the actual horror elements of it. But I mean, really, that's just me. My least favorite is 1666, and that's like, I'm surprised that that's a hot take because I've seen a lot of people say that this is their favorite, and I don't really get it. It's good, but like the first half of the movie is kind of boring because they don't really try to do anything different with the Salem witch trials than like, everything apart from adding, hey, but also this was an LGBTQ thing too, apart from just like a sexism thing. And then the second half of the movie is all of these characters, like horror characters teaming up and whatever, and like, I don't know, it just sort of felt lame and like corny. I don't know. Anyways, all of these movies are enjoyable. If you have a weekend, just binge them. I don't know. 5/10. Raya and the Last Dragon is kind of a weird movie to talk about because most of my issues with it revolve like with stuff around the movie. I think the representation of other cultures is good. I think it's cool that Disney is doing that. Good job. The queer baiting, not the biggest fan of that. I feel like at this point, Disney should just have like a lesbian couple in a movie, cause like, come on, it's 2021. You stop pandering to China, dude. This movie also like flopped big time because of the Disney Premier Access thing, and honestly, I'm pretty darn happy with that. It's good that all of the movies that like, were free to stream instantly, got more money. That's good news. Yay. The actual movie itself, it's fine. It's whatever. It's relatively boring in my opinion, and Luca is better, but I mean, it's a 5/10. So this movie is interesting, because, I think it was really deep when the monkey hit the lizard, and then the lizard hit back, and then my own monkey brain went, oh, the two big things are hitting each other. That's so cool. The Millie Bobby Brown side plot, as everybody talks about, sucked. It's not good. There was no reason to have it. The Monsterverse, it's good for seeing big, like kaiju movies or kaijo, something along those lines. One of those things. Is it good for like? Do I want to learn about the mythology of these guys? No, I don't. You don't need to. I don't need to see it. Also, I'm not one to usually like praise CGI. I'm usually just like gonna comment on how it was bad, but it was surprisingly good in this movie, especially with how like weird everything was. It was pretty solid. 6/10. Wow. A lot of people who know more about me on movies didn't like Cruella, but I kind of liked it. I don't know. It's stylish, the whole movie is fun, and Emma Stone was clearly having a good time while making it, which is like, which is what you love to see. Honestly, I recognize the issues with it, but I can't really bring myself to hate it. Cruella is alright. It's a 6 out of 10. Free Guy is not a good movie. It's not. Is Ryan Reynolds a charming guy? Yes. Is that the only reason people like this movie so much? Yes, this movie is not good. Stop letting society try to brainwash you. This is not a good movie, no matter what they say. I despise this movie with all of my heart. It's not good. It's not good. People need to stop telling me, hey dude, you're just salty. It's a good movie, because it's not. It's not a good movie. The only reason my own rating for this movie, which is a 6 out of 10, is so high, is because I too am prone to capitalism. I am. Ostracize me from the film community. I don't care. This movie is not good, but I liked it. God fucking damn it. Also, Ryan Reynolds is just so hot, dude. Like, goddamn. Space Jam 2 is not a good movie. It's not. It's fun, but it's not a good movie. The only reason it is so high is because I could not bear myself to have it be below Free Guy. 6 out of 10. Shang-Chi could have been good, dude. It was so close. Is this movie better than Black Widow? Yes. Are the first 2 acts really good? Yes. But then the third act, man. Like, come on, dude. You didn't need to have that battle. The third act just completely messes everything up. It's just so unnecessary. They didn't need to have that giant battle. It could have had, like, a small scale character-driven battle, but Marvel's just gotta be like that. Also, the CGI looks really weird and unfinished. It's not good. Honestly, best part about this movie is that it's got Simu Lee in it, and he's an angel walking among us. Like, just, whoa. Did I just say Among Us in my video? Uh-oh. I hate myself, dude. 6 out of 10. God, this movie is so dumb. Venom is silly, Carnage is goofy, I want what the 2 villains have, and I love this movie. I said it. It's like, not a good movie, but also I really can't bring myself to hate it. It's just so much fun. 6 out of 10. Malignant is not as good as people say, in my opinion. The CGI is cool, the acting is fine, the action is alright. I think what really turns me off of this movie is that it's a very anti-abortion sort of movie, which isn't really cool. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but it's got a lot of stuff that just screams that it's anti-abortion, which doesn't really sit quite right with me. 6 out of 10. Blood Red Sky is a Russian movie about vampires on a plane. The plot is really dumb. It involves airplanes and like terrorism and vampires and whatever. But honestly, it's just like a good, cute little horror. I really could just see this like becoming a cult classic because it's got that just good, like, grounded horror. The CGI is really toned down, so it looks really good, and there's like a heavy reliance on prosthetics, which I think is great anytime a movie does that. And it actually at the end has like a solid twist, which is refreshing. It's just like a solid movie. 6 out of 10. Army of the Dead is just such a like a classic Zack Snyder vibe. It's a dumbass movie that knows it's stupid. It's great. The CGI is pretty good. The action is slick. The soundtrack is a vibe. It's just a vibe of a movie. Not in like a quiet, peaceful, sort of like how you'd want your room to be vibe, but like this is a fun movie vibe. You know what I'm saying? I don't fucking know what I'm saying. This movie does this weird thing with the focus where it's like really, really intense a lot of the time for some reason. And it's like, imagine if like it was a normal shot is like if Rami here was in focus and he was like the only thing in focus, and then the rest of everything wasn't in focus, and then everything else is like blurry because the focus is that strong. It's a very weird look. One shot at the end of the movie like stands out to me because of how very jarringly it like switches focus from one thing in frame to another thing in frame within like a really short amount of time, and it's like super jarring. I don't know, that felt really weird to me. Overall, it's fun though. 6 out of 10. Saint Maud is like a lesser tier A24 horror, to be honest. It's art housey, it's intense, it's French, and it's religious. What more could you want? The ending is kind of stupid depending on how you interpret it, but honestly, the movie's pretty good. Watch it if you want to feel smart, like I did. 7 out of 10. Luca is a solid mid-tier Pixar movie. It's got wholesome vibes, it's got good messages, it's just a fun, good time. What more could you ask for? I think my favorite thing about this movie is the Butcher Dad, because the Butcher Dad is really fucking hot. If you're wondering why this video is just progressively getting gayer and gayer, it's because I'm writing this in the middle of the night, filming it like during the day, but the script itself was written at like 1 a.m. a couple of days ago, which is probably not the best time to write scripts. Soul is better, and I can't wait to rewatch this movie once like it's aged and I get to be nostalgic about it. 7 out of 10. Let me preface this. The animation in this movie is wonderful. Sony Animations made one of my favorite movies of all time, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and the animation in that movie is gorgeous. Does this movie live up to everything else that the Spider-Verse did? No, definitely not. But it tries its best. The plot is honestly pretty good. It's just a wholesome, like, family, like, adventure. My main issue with this movie is just the humor, because it's not good. If you're not, like, a millennial, you probably won't be super into this movie. Not just because it's got a bunch of, like, 10-year-old references, but also it's just got a lot of that, like, unironic, self-deprecating humor, which, for a cool hip guy like me, is just simply too cringe. But I like this movie. 7 out of 10. Top 10, baby. A movie series I definitely didn't expect to like start watching and get really into was the Fast and Furious saga, but I did, and I enjoyed my time quite a bit. F9 is a very solid Fast and Furious film. It's wacky, it's insane, and it's just off the walls bonkers. I'm really happy that the Fast and Furious saga exists because as far as I'm aware, it's one of the only really like high grossing like franchises in Hollywood that isn't based off of anything in the slightest. And honestly, the action is really fucking good. If you want like a action blockbuster, this is it. The cute interactions between characters are also like alright. I mean, is it very reliant on like the fact that you've grown to love these characters over multiple movies? Sure, but it's also just like fun to watch these characters do things. Considering what it is, I'm honestly pretty impressed that they haven't like CGI'd Paul Walker in, at least yet. None of the actors are really good, but like it's just such a fun movie. Go watch it and have fun. 7 out of 10. There isn't really much to say about Nobody because it's just such like a pinnacle of a solid action flick. The plot is serviceable. I don't remember anything about it, but it's a very good way to just have this cool guy doing cool things, right? The movie flies by and the plot isn't like confusing, so you're never wondering, hey, why is this happening while the people are just punching each other, you know? The action in this movie is stellar. It's so good, dude. So many action movies struggle with both having good, like, the choreographed fights and also shooting them well in, like, a way that doesn't confuse you and just, like, makes everything look good. And honestly, this movie does both. I love this movie. I can't wait to rewatch it. And you should too. 7 out of 10. The choreo is just, like, such a vibe, man. What it wants to be is a slick Cold War drama. And that's what it is. And it does it well. I honestly don't really see why people don't like this movie. I've seen a lot of like negative reviews for it, and I don't know why. Maybe it's the fact that I saw it with my mom and sister, but like I had a good time watching this movie. The camera work is great. The soundtrack is great. Also, just as a side note, this movie technically came out in 2020, but that was only in like festivals, and it like had its feeder run during 2021, so I'm counting it as a 2021 movie. Zack Snyder's Justice League is like, it's an achievement, you know? Fans were whiny, and they got what they wanted. Good job. I'm pretty happy that Zack Snyder was able to just fucking just get everything out. You know, this movie feels like such like a... It's so insanely Zack Snyder. The 4-hour runtime of this movie is inexcusable, but like if you ever have the time to watch it, I would recommend it. Also, it is divided into like chapters, which is how you're meant to watch it, which I didn't know, so I just watched the whole 4-hour thing in one day. So, oops. This movie is big, it's dumb, it has all of Snyder's little quirks, and I loved it. I also liked all of the like memes and discussion going around this movie for like the year before it came out, which maybe makes me a little biased to this movie because I had a lot of hype for it. But you know what? I'll say it. I liked Zack Snyder's Justice League. 7 out of 10? 8 out of 10? It's somewhere there, whatever. Spider-Man No Way Home is good. I know my friends think I hate this movie, but I really don't. I think the main issues are really just the pacing, the CGI, and the distribution of character, like, importance. The first half of the movie, in my opinion, is, like, really clunky. It only really settles once the first villains start to appear, but before that, it's really hectic, and it feels like everything that you saw in the trailer and were, like, excited for just kind of flies by, you know? Additionally, the CGI is really weird. Many of the shots are like very intensely orange, which doesn't feel right. or something, I don't know. Also, the characters kind of look weird. A lot of them had like some sort of CGI done on their face, and it doesn't look great all of the time. Then the final fight also just feels clunky. I don't know, it just felt like the CGI was a little tiny bit rushed. I don't know. Finally, some of the characters are kind of focused on way more than others, and it's kind of jarring. Sandman and Lizard are like nothing characters. Dr. Octopus feels weirdly out of place a lot of the times, and I don't know. But I really like the character interactions. They were really cute. I loved it. I like it. Had a lot of pandering, sure, you know, with the whole like, oh, I'm a scientist myself, and blah 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 blah. But like, I don't know, I just fucking like this movie, dude. The action was also pretty good. I mean, what you'd expect. And this movie redeemed Andrew Garfield so hard, it's insane. It's like I've been meaning to like watch more Andrew Garfield stuff now because of this movie. Also, Andrew Garfield is just so hot, dude. Like, goddamn, Jesus Christ. I'm straight, guys, I promise. 8 out of 10. The Suicide Squad is just so much fun, dude. Like, James Gunn is just a good filmmaker. I don't know what to tell you. The visuals are stunning, the action is great, and the characters are wonderful. What really surprised me about this movie was that John Cena's character was like the best one in it, which feels surprising. It doesn't feel like John Cena should be allowed to do that. Don't tell anyone, but I prefer John Cena as an actor over The Rock as an actor. So 8 out of 10. House of Gucci was just so close to being amazing. The costumes in it are great. It's a movie about it like a fashion empire. What more could you expect? The performances are pretty great. Lady Gaga is a surprisingly good actress, and Adam Driver is just good in everything. I don't know how he does it, but like, just such a good actor, dude. I've heard people like disagree with this, but I think Jared Leto could have chilled out a little tiny bit. Just a tad. I think his character was a little bit over the top. Unfortunately, visually, it's really boring. The camera does nothing. It's pretty disappointing. Also, is it very clearly Oscar bait? Yes. But, I mean, I don't know. It's good. I liked it. 8 out of 10. Judas and the Black Messiah is just such a good movie, dude. I don't know what else to say. It's gripping, it's beautiful, it's tense. But yeah, it's just good. Also, what is it with like Keith Stanfield and just being in like super memorable movies? Maybe not all of the movies he's been are good. I'm looking at you, Death Note, but like the movies I've seen, I've always like thought about for some period of time, which is impressive. But yeah, 8 out of 10. I've always heard like people gushing about Bo Burnham, and I always thought, okay, sure, yeah, I get why people like him, but he was just a little bit too much for me. Like, his whole thing was just like, oh, I'm a millennial, I'm edgy, and I'm depressed, oh boy. Like, okay, sure. Then I watched this, and I think pretty much everybody who watched this agreed that, wow, he's just fucking good at everything, I guess. Like, imagine making Inside. Imagine having the skill to do that. God damn, dude. What the hell? 9 out of 10. I like how as this video has progressed, it's gotten darker, so it has progressively gotten more cinematic, I guess. This also just kind of looks ugly though, so I don't know how I'll fix this in post. Before we get to our number 1 spot in this list, let me just give some honorable mentions to movies that I watched between recording this video, which was December 25, and uploading this video, which will be like January 5th or 6th, whatever, however that works out. Sing 2, I watched that the day after I recorded this with my family. It's not good. It's Sing 2. What do you expect? It's Sing 2. I watched Death to 2021, which I guess it's like a Netflix tradition now. Sure, why not? It's not good. It's kind of not funny, and it's some of the people do a solid performance, but I don't think it's funny. On the New Year's Eve, I watched West Side Story, and that movie is insane. I really liked it. It's got beautiful cinematography, beautiful music, beautiful blah blah blah, blah everything. It's a great movie. It would probably be number 1 on my list if I watched it in time, which is quite unfortunate, but you know, what can you do? And I also watched No Time to Die, which I thought was pretty good. It's a solid ending to the James Bond like saga for Daniel Craig, and it's definitely a better ending than what Spectre offered up. Yeah, that's it. Now to number 1. Number 1, French Dispatch. This movie is just so like clean, dude. I saw this movie in the theater and it just made me so happy, you know? Just such like a good movie. Is it basically entirely style over substance? Yes. But do I really care? No. And is that style just amazing? Yes. It's so good. Maybe it's not the best Wes Anderson has ever done, but it's just such a good movie, dude. Go watch it. I really liked it. 9 out of 10. So, yeah, that's it. This will probably go out once 2021 has ended. So happy New Year, and I hope you all had a very Merry Christmas. I hope you guys had a happy Thanksgiving too, because didn't upload anything between after Thanksgiving. So was 2021 overall a good year for movies? Maybe. There was a lot of stuff that I kind of missed out on, or at least I haven't seen in time to like write the script. Like, come on, Annette, Licorice Pizza, all of that stuff. I'll probably watch it before like the awards season, but 2021 was a very weird year for me with movies because I definitely watched way too many. Am I like proud of myself for having watched 400 fucking Jesus Christ? Am I happy with myself for having watched 400 movies in 2021? Sure. But will I be able to do it next year? Definitely not. Anyways, I'm actually interested in hearing your thoughts if you actually made it this far. What was your own favorite movie or least favorite? I don't fucking know. I don't care. Judging by my audience, I'm gonna say it's probably Spider-Man, but if anybody has a different take than that or wants to tell me why they think Spider-Man is the best movie, let me know, because I'm actually interested in reading that. Also, if you disagree with me on any single point I made, feel free to tell me, and I'll read it, and I'll go, oh, okay, sure, and maybe I'll respond to it. Who knows? You can also be angry at me over on my social medias. Instagram, Twitter, Letterboxd, all in the description. That's all for the video. Thank you guys for such a great 2021. Maybe next year we'll hit 500 subs. I doubt it, because I'm definitely not going to be uploading 2 videos a month anytime soon again. And I will see you all later. Bye.